What's up, guys? Hope you're having a good day. Yesterday we dropped betting tips for the Champions League group stages and the tournament as a whole. I'll leave a link for that in the description below if you haven't watched it already. And today we're going to be going through the same kind of bets for the Europa League and the Europa Conference League, which starts on Thursday of this week. Now this video is a little bit different because obviously new teams enter both the Europa League and the Europa Conference League after the group stages. So we're not going to be able to bet things like, you know, which team is going to win the tournament as a whole, because we don't know exactly all the teams that are going to be in these two tournaments yet. But we can take a look at the top goal scorer props, because obviously even if really good teams, really good players are coming into the Europa League, Europa Conference League after the group stages, they're going to be disadvantaged in the goal scoring, the top goal scorer prop, because they're not going to be playing as many games. And obviously in the group stages is where players can pick up a lot of goals playing weaker opposition. Obviously when you get to the knockout stages, games tend to be a lot tighter because you're playing against a higher level of opposition. So let's start off by taking a look at the Europa League top goal scorer props. And like I say, we can't... Oh, they're not even going to give us... Okay, they're not even going to give us top goal scorer props. I thought they would. They're not going to. Never mind. So what we'll do instead is focus very much on the prop bets for group qualification and group winner. So the first set of props we'll look at is for the Europa League, and these are the odds on teams to win the group. And obviously there's incentive for teams to win the group because they get seeded and theoretically should then play weaker opposition in the first round of knockout games, which is definitely what you want, especially when, you know, teams like West Ham have got a busy domestic schedule, 2 cup tournaments domestically in a league, and now European football. With a relatively small squad, it's not an easy thing to manage. So, you know, getting weaker opposition, opportunity to rest some players here and there, it's going to be worth fighting for. So let's start off by taking a look at the odds on the teams to win Group A. So in Group A, we've got West Ham United, Olympiacos, Freiburg, and Backa Topola. So for me, obviously, the two strongest teams in this group, West Ham United, Freiburg. I feel West Ham at even money. Don't know why I just did that. I feel West Ham at even money. Odds of 1.80, minus 125. Pretty good bet. I would bet that. I'm going to bet that. And the reason why I like that bet is because, for me, West Ham have just got more quality all over the pitch than Freiburg, who realistically are probably the only team in this group to challenge West Ham for the #1 spot. For me, the real difference between West Ham and Freiburg is Freiburg concede a lot of goals. They play very open, they're dodgy at the back, and they just don't have as many match winners as West Ham United. They don't have a Jared Bowen, a Mikel Antonio. They just don't have quality players. You know, guys like Paqueta that can turn a game on its head. You know, Freiburg are a decent all-round team, but they just don't have the same firepower as West Ham United. So I would go West Ham 1.8 minus 125 to win the group. Next, Group B, very good group this. We've got Ajax, Marseille, AEK Athens, and Brighton Hove Albion. Very, very competitive group this. I'm not going to go as far as saying it is a group of death, but definitely a competitive group, because even, you know, when you look at AEK Athens, which are the weakest team in the group, they're a nightmare to play against when they're at home. So it will not be a picnic for Brighton, Marseille or Ajax to go to Athens. Very intimidating atmosphere. They're very, very good at home. It's going to be one of those places that you're not going to want to go on a fucking Thursday night when, you know, you're playing 2-3 times a week. So tough group this. When I look at the teams in there, obviously Brighton are by far the strongest team in the group, and I would bet them at 2.10 plus 110 to win the group. I think they make it through the group. They've got a lot more quality than Marseille and Ajax. Ajax leaking a lot of goals this season, struggling at domestic level in the Dutch Premier League. And so, yeah, Brighton, I would take Brighton 2.10 plus 110 to win the group. I think the English club's going to do pretty well this year. Group C, we have got Real Betis, Rangers, Sparta Prague, and Aris Limassol. So, this is an interesting group that I would imagine Real Betis will sail through from. I think the number 2 spot will be a toss-up between Rangers and Sparta Prague. Rangers' home form, obviously very, very good, but then Sparta Prague's home form, very, very good as well. On the road, sides like Rangers, Prague will find it a lot more difficult. So, for me, this is one of those groups where I think it's competitive enough where you wouldn't want to bet Real Betis at 1.50 minus 200. If Real Betis were in the even money odds range, like West Ham United, Brighton Hove Albion, I would hit them. But I could easily see Betis going away to places like Rangers, Sparta Prague, dropping points because of how much of a fortress, Ibrox and Sparta Prague is at home. They're not easy places to go, and so yeah, it's one of those groups where you could potentially see Sparta Prague, Rangers having a good run and nicking the top spot. So yeah, I would avoid the group winning bet on that group. And this is a very interesting one. Okay, this is an interesting group. I like this group. Okay, so Group D. Atalanta, Sporting Lisbon, Sturm Graz, Rakow. This is an interesting group, and again, potentially a little bit of a group of death. Similar to Group B, Ajax, Marseille, AEK, and Athens and Brighton. There's no easy games in this group. Obviously, the 2 stronger teams, Atalanta, Sporting Lisbon. The 2 weaker teams, Sturm Graz and Rakow. But again, Rakow and Sturm Graz will not be easy places to go. We saw last season Sturm Graz have a decent run in the Europa League. I think they picked up a win over Roma. And they're a team I watch in the Austrian Bundesliga relatively recently. And they're a very good team. They play nice, open, free-flowing football, which, to be honest, won't be that big of an issue in this group because Atalanta are the same, and so are Rakow. Obviously, Sporting Lisbon, they're very well organised. They're very solid at the back. Difficult to play like Sturm Graz play against Sporting Lisbon, but you could see them doing relatively well against both Rakow and Atalanta. It's a very interesting group, this. You know what? I'm going to take a bit of an outside bet here. We're looking at bets on teams to win the group. I would go Sporting Lisbon, 2.37 plus 137. What I really like about Sporting Lisbon in this group is that they're very, very difficult to play against away from home. Whereas, when teams like when you look at a team like Atalanta, for example, they do have a lot of firepower up front, but they leak so many goals that when they go to places like Rakow and Sturm Graz, with how good the home form of Rakow and Sturm Graz is, they will concede goals, or they're a lot more likely to concede goals away from home than Sporting Lisbon are, which makes it harder for them to pick up wins on the road. So I actually like Sporting Lisbon at 2.37 plus 137 to win the group. I think they are quite likely to do that, actually. Then we have got in Group E, Liverpool, Lask, Royal Union, and Toulouse. Another good group, very, very good group. The second spot is totally up for grabs here in Group E. Unfortunately, Liverpool are a class above any of the other 3 teams in this group. They should go through relatively easily and win the group. So, yeah, can't really bet this. Group F, Villarreal, Rennes, Panathinaikos, and Maccabi Haifa. Another interesting group, actually. Rennes, Maccabi Haifa, and Panathinaikos, all very good at home. I guess that's really the difference between those 3 and Villarreal. Villarreal, not the most intimidating place to go, but they are the best footballing team in this group. But for me, I would not be betting Villarreal at odds of 1.66. I would pass on that. That could be quite a competitive group, because it isn't going to be easy for sides like Villarreal to go to Israel, Greece and France, because the home form of these 3 teams, very, very good. We know they put on a big atmosphere in European games, right? We saw Maccabi Haifa pick up a win against Juventus in last year's Champions League, I believe. So yeah, this group won't be no picnic for Villarreal. We will give them a miss. Roma, can't touch them at those odds. They're incredibly inconsistent. Now, this is interesting. So, Bayer Leverkusen, 1.40 minus 250 favourites to win the group. I do agree that they should win the group. Bayer Leverkusen are also one of my sneakies to win the whole tournament. Like I say, we can't really do props on who's going to win the Europa League tournament because new teams will enter after the group stages. But out of all the teams currently in it, I think that Bayer Leverkusen have got a great shot. I wonder what their odds are to win it. They're looking brilliant in the Bundesliga this year. So, Bayer Leverkusen, yeah, they've got a decent chance of winning the whole tournament, let alone winning the group. I think they will win the group. Molde were quite disappointing in qualifying, to be fair, and their home form, Molde, it's not the most intimidating place to go. In fact, the same can be said about Karabag and Hacken. Not the most intimidating places to go, so I could see Bayer Leverkusen picking up a lot of points on the road as well against those three clubs. But 1.40, just not that exciting to me. We'll give that a miss. Now let's take a look at group qualification, which is some of my most favourite bets on tournaments as a whole. I think you can find some really good value trying to snipe outsiders that have a great chance of going through at very, very juicy odds. So what we'll do is go through each group and I'll kind of call out who I think is going to qualify, and then we'll see if there's any value in the odds. So in Group A, West Ham and Freiburg should sail through. I'm guessing their odds are going to be absolutely dreadful though. West Ham 1.22, yes. Freiburg, where are Freiburg? Probably right in front of me. There we go. 1.40. Actually, those odds are a little bit better than I thought they would be. 1.40, pretty steep, but I'd be surprised if Freiburg didn't make it through. We'll come back to that one. Group B, Ajax, Marseille, AEK Athens, and Brighton. So it's going to be Brighton going through here, and then a bit of a coin toss between Ajax and Marseille. Difficult to tell. Ajax finding it tough in the Eredivisie at the moment, but doesn't mean they will in a couple months' time. They could get their season back on track. Let's take a look at the odds. I'm guessing that Brighton will be massive favourites, 1.20, and Marseille 1.53. What about Ajax? 2.0. You know what? I feel like if you were to pick either of these to qualify, it would be a bit of a gamble. So we'll leave it. Group C, Sparta Prague, Real Betis, Rangers, Aris Limassol. So Real Betis should sail through here in my opinion. And then second place is going to be up for grabs between Sparta Prague and Rangers. Let's take a look at the odds, see if we get any wide odds here. So Sparta Prague 2.25 plus 125. Real Betis 1.10, can't touch that. Rangers 1.72. Again, it feels like a bit of a gamble. It's going to be a coin toss between Sparta Prague and Rangers. I would avoid. Group D, Atalanta, Sporting Lisbon, Sturm Graz, Rakow. Potentially a bit of a banana skin group, this. Very, very tough group. I think Sporting Lisbon will sail through. I'm guessing they're going to be pretty big favourites, though. Where are we? Sporting, where are you, Sporting? Here we go, 1.28. Yeah, pretty big favourites. And that isn't good. What about Atalanta? Are going to be pretty big favourites, aren't they? Those two should go through. Wonder what the odds on Sturm Graz are. If they're crazy, 3.50. It's not really crazy enough for me. Atalanta 1.22. I'll give them a miss. Man, the odds on these group games are a bit dead. Okay. Group E, Liverpool, Lask, Royal Union, and Toulouse. Liverpool should sail through. They're going to be massive favourites. Yes. Out of the other three teams, I think the team most likely to go through will be Royal Union of Belgium. They had a decent run last season, caused Union Berlin all kinds of trouble. and last season Union Berlin were actually decent. I watch Royal Union at home, or when they play at home in Belgium regularly. Very, very good team. Let's see what the odds are on Royal Union. Union Sangalé, 2.75 plus 175. I actually quite like that. I think Royal Union are fairly likely to go through in that second place. For me, they are just a very well-balanced team. They do concede a lot of goals because they play very open, but I don't think that'll be a massive issue in this group because Lask of Austria, Toulouse of France, they also concede a lot of goals. So, Royal Union, I think they will sneak the second spot. 2.75 plus 175. I quite like it. What about the next group? Group F, Villarreal, Rennes, Maccabi Haifa, Panathinaikos. Tricky group, this. The two favourites to go through will be Villarreal and Rennes, but Maccabi Haifa, Panathinaikos are tricky places to go. And I could definitely see Rennes and Villarreal dropping points on the road. Let's see what the odds are. So, Villarreal, big favourites, wouldn't touch that. Rennes, I wouldn't really touch Rennes either. 1.228, yeah, not good. Maccabi Haifa, 5.5, and the fourth club. Who is the fourth club? I've forgotten already. Rennes, no. Panathinaikos, 3.75. I would avoid that group. That is potentially a group of death. Group G, Roma, Slavia Prague, Sheriff Tiraspol, and Servette. There's another group of death, man. Roma should go through. The second place totally up for grabs. What I would say is, the way that I would go through the three teams, let's see if we can kind of work out who's most likely to go through in second place through process of elimination. Slavia Prague, well organised, difficult to play against, amazing home form, difficult place to go. Solid at the back. They're going to be a lot better at digging in and parking the bus than Sheriff Tiraspol of Moldova and Servette of Switzerland. Slavia Prague, I don't know who is the second favourites to go through here. I'm guessing it will be Slavia Prague. I'm not 100% sure. We'll check the odds in a minute. But they're going to be the most well-organised team out of those three. Sheriff Tiraspol have a lot of firepower. They're very creative, very dangerous going forward. They are dodgy as fuck at the back, so they will concede goals. However, if they want to dig in and defend the lead or park the bus, they're going to be a lot more capable of doing that than Servette, who play very open football, end-to-end. So Servette are, in my opinion, the least likely to go through, just because when you play teams like Slavia Prague or Sheriff Tiraspol, if they score first, they make life extremely difficult for you because they can shut up shop, sit deep, and become very difficult to play against. Servette can't really do that. Like, if Sheriff Tiraspol or Slavia Prague nick the first goal against Servette, it's a fucking nightmare for them because Tiraspol, Prague, they've got so much pace going forward that Servette will just get fucking counted to death. So, second place going to be a toss-up between Slavia Prague, Sheriff Tiraspol. What are the odds? 3.50 Sheriff Tiraspol, 1.66 Slavia Prague. I wouldn't bet Servette. I don't know what their odds are. 3.0. Interesting. So they're favoured to go through more than Sheriff Tiraspol. Quite surprised. I would avoid it. I would avoid that group. Group H, Bayer Leverkusen, Karabag, Molde, and Hacken. So, the two teams most likely to go through here, Leverkusen, Bayer Leverkusen for sure, and Hacken of Sweden, in my opinion, are the two best clubs in this group by some margin. Molde, it's always a fucking library at Molde. We know how big home games are in European tournaments. Molde shit at home. Karabag don't have the same firepower, the same quality that Hacken have. Let's see what the odds are. So Roma, unplayable. Let's see what the odds on Hacken are of Sweden. Where are we? I thought I saw him for a second there. BK Hacken, 3.40 plus 240. I would take that. I would take that. Karabag 2.25, so they're favoured over Hacken, which I disagree with. And Mulder are favoured over Hacken as well, which I also disagree with. Hacken are a better team than Karabag and Mulder, so I can't explain those odds, but I do like Hacken 3.40 plus 240. So just a little recap then. We like Hacken 3.40, 3.40 plus 240. We like, who else do we like? We like not a whole lot actually from these props, to be fair. We like Royal Union 2.75 plus 175. We also like is that about it? I think that was about it. So what we're going to do now is try and build some parlays and accumulators based on teams that are like really likely to go through. Now we can't have as much security with the Europa League as we can have with the Champions League, because we know, you know, key players are a lot more likely to get rested for the Europa League, where, you know, a lot of the time managers will prioritize domestic games, whereas the Champions League's the opposite. Managers will prioritize Champions League. But we'll do our best here to build some relatively safe. Obviously, nothing is completely safe in gambling, but we'll try and build some relatively safe parlay accumulators here. The only problem with parlay accumulators from these group games is that you can't parlay two teams from the same group. So I would love to parlay West Ham and Freiburg to qualify out the group stages. We're not going to be able to do it. We're going to have to pick one or the other. Of course, we'll go with West Ham United as the first leg. I can't do it. I can't do it. Alright, guys. Give me a sec. I'll bring up... We used Betfair yesterday, right? We used Betfair. So we'll use Betfair again. Give me a second just to load it up on my other monitor. Of course, I don't want to show my account or username, because my username will get me closed down. Obviously, if you're new to my channel, I've got lots of videos on betting sites shutting your account down when you make just a few $1,000s profit on a betting account. So watch some of these videos if you haven't already, which is why I can't show myself placing these bets in this video or my username for any of my accounts. So I need to find these bets on a different website. Just bear with me for 1 second. Just bear with me, guys, and I'll find this now. Sorry about this. Almost there. Champions League is everywhere. It's bloody more difficult finding Europa League. Almost there. I think we've got it. Outrights. Yes, here we are. Okay, apologies for that, guys. Okay, so exactly the same thing. We'll switch the odds to decimal, because fractional odds are even more confusing than American moneyline odds, which is quite spectacular. Oh, I fucking lost the page. Refreshing. Nightmare. Alright, give me 2 more seconds to find it. God damn it, man. Sorry about this, guys. Almost there again. It's not the easiest site to navigate. I'm really sorry about this, guys. Almost there. Alright. Here we go. We got there in the end. So, exactly the same process. No, it isn't, because they don't have... Oh man, this is a nightmare. This is a nightmare. Okay, I am going to have to use this betting site because they don't have props on qualification. Fuck's sake. Alright, that means I need to log into this website and then I'll just blur my username out. 2 seconds. What a nightmare, man. And I don't have time to edit this out. Busy boy and all that sort of shit. Busy, 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 busy. Oh, it's going to be a nightmare, this. This is going to be a nightmare. Can't show you that. I'm going to be... Shall I be a naughty boy? And log into a different account. Sorry about this, guys. All right, I worked out. We saw it. There we go. We got it. Okay. All right, we can do it now. Sorry, guys. I literally can't show you guys anything because if a betting site finds out my username or any of my account details, the account's just gonna get banned straight away. So have to stay in the shadows and be all sneaky to throw them off the scent. All right. Anyway, let's get into these props. So what we're doing let's get into these parlays accumulators. So what we're doing is we are looking for relatively safe parlays and accumulators where teams are very likely to qualify. So I want to go through each group and look at the odds on teams that are very likely to qualify. So I think it's very likely that both West Ham and Freiburg will go through. West Ham more likely out of the two, so we'll pop West Ham in there at 1.22. We can't have Freiburg, unfortunately. We can only have one per group. Brighton next step. Let's throw Brighton in. Brighton Hove Albion, there we go. That takes our odds to 1.46. Very nice. Next group, we'll have Real Betis, please. That takes our odds of 1.61. Very nice. Group D. We'll go for Sport in here. I know they're not the favourites to win the group, but I'd be very surprised if they didn't go through. That takes our odds to 2.07. Then Group E. It's got to be Liverpool, but are their odds even playable? They're not. What does it do, the odds, if we add them? Bumps it a little bit, but for me, not worth the risk. Group F, Villarreal, Rennes, Maccabi Haifa, Panathinaikos. If Villarreal are crazy favourites, I'm not interested. They are. Nah, I'm not interested in that, mate. They're not the same since Unai Emery left, so I'm not about it. Group G, Roma are going to be crazy odds, right? Roma, yeah, they're crazy odds. Next up, Group H, Bayer Leverkusen should sail through, in my opinion, but are their odds worth adding? They are not. Although, what happens if we add Bayer Leverkusen and Liverpool? Does that do anything? It bumps it a little bit. So, look, it is a six-fold. Six-fold parlays are usually very risky. And this one's risky as well. But these kind of parlay accumulators are not the same as when on a Saturday you see people betting on 6 teams to win their games. Because if you bet on 6 teams just to win their games on a Saturday, very likely at least one of those teams is going to let you down. Doesn't matter what kind of matchups you put into the parlay or accumulator. It only takes one red card for a team you bet, and your bet is in a lot of trouble. What I really like about these kinds of parlay accumulators is that these are on teams to qualify out of the group stages. So these teams can afford to have 1 or 2 bad nights, and they've still got another 3-4 games to make up for it. So it makes it kind of, it's a way of like balancing out the variance more. If you're betting on just one thing to happen, one football match, anything can happen. But here, essentially, we're betting on teams to show their quality and get the job done over 5 group games. So you know me, I don't usually place parlay accumulators because it's very risky betting on hyper-specific things. But I'll make an exception for bets such as this because the amount of games means you've just got you've got longer to basically iron out the randomness of sports. So I quite like that at 2.28. Now what we're going to do is play around with the combinations we're basically going to play around with these combinations to add risk or add riskier teams in to hopefully give us a big bump in the odds. So the first thing that I want to do is go from one extreme to the other, where we place a really risky one by adding in teams that are reasonably likely to qualify, but the kind of parlay accumulator where more than likely one's going to let you down, but hopefully we can hit a big winner. We'll throw Hacken in there. And we'll probably have to remove one team. Yeah, we've got to remove Bayer Leverkusen because remember, you can't have two teams from the same group. So that jumps our odds to 7.26. Now let's add in, who else can we throw in? Royal Union. Who do we have to remove for them? We have to take out Liverpool. And that jumps our odds to 19.39. That's the type of shit I'm talking about. Very, very nice. And then anyone else that we can throw in. Or we can put Freiburg in now. We can put Freiburg in. If we take out West Ham. So that would give us 22.21. I like that as well. What I would also do, if we take these out, is see what the odds are on a sixfold with Freiburg in instead of West Ham. So if we add back in... Who do we take out? Roma, but the odds are dreadful, right? Liverpool by a Leverkusen, 2.84 on a sevenfold. We'll take that as well. So those are some props for you guys. Parlays, accumulators for you to think about. And now let's move on to doing exactly the same thing for the Europa Conference League. Exactly the same thing. Okay, where are we? Europa Conference League. I'll probably scroll past it. There we go. So again, just like with the Europa League, there will be new teams entering the Europa Conference League after the group stages. So it's very difficult to bet on... oh, wow, you can't even bet on groups. No way. Wow, there's barely any props on the Conference League. What about Betfair? Are they offering anything else? I doubt they are if Bet365 aren't. That's very, very disappointing. Barely any props. It's not what we want. Let's take a quick look. That is very disappointing. Sorry guys, let me just see what we've got here. I want to be able to do props on the Conference League then, if they're not going to offer them. Sorry about this, guys. How shocking. Barely any props. Yeah, no, but Betfair are the same. They'll only let you bet on team to win, which is shocking, really, because new teams are going to enter the Conference League after the group stages. So I guess that's it for this video. Not a lot we can bet, really, on the Conference League. That is a bit dead. So, thank you for watching. If you want me to do more of these football videos, please hit the like button below. And yeah, man, take care. Hope you enjoyed this. Hope you enjoyed the bets. Good luck with your bets this week. I'll see you with the UFC breakdown video very, very soon. Nice one, guys. Take care.